Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered why you kept returning to the very thing that wounded you? Why you felt pulled toward the person who drained your spirit and pushed away the one who held genuine care for you? People often assume attraction is a matter of chemistry, but in truth, attraction is a matter of wounds. You are drawn not to what is good for you, but to what is familiar to the deepest, unhealed part of your psyche. Let me tell you something without softening the edges. You were not loving them. You were trying to resolve something inside yourself. And this is why the moment you heal the core wound, the entire architecture of your attraction collapses and rebuilds itself. What once felt magnetic suddenly feels meaningless. What once destroyed you no longer has any power over you. This is the moment your inner psychology flips. Listen closely. Every empath believes they fell for a person, but in truth, they fell into a memory because the story didn't start with them. It started long before, back when you were too young to understand that emotional absence is also a form of pain. Jung reminds us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And this is where the core wound is born, the birth of the wound. Somewhere in your childhood, there was a moment, or many moments, where your emotional needs were met with silence, inconsistency, or confusion. Maybe your parents were overwhelmed. Maybe they were unpredictable. Maybe they loved you, but never learned how to love you in the way your heart needed. And so, without knowing it, you absorbed a dangerous belief. I must earn love. I must stay small to be safe. I must be perfect to be valued. My needs are too much. This is the cage the empath grows up in. Not physical, but psychological. A wound formed not from violence, but from emotional emptiness. A child doesn't think, I am not being loved correctly. A child thinks, something must be wrong with me. And that belief sinks deep into the unconscious. This becomes the blueprint. Why you fell for them. Years later, you meet someone who feels different. Someone intense, someone magnetic. Someone whose presence feels like home, even if that home is haunted. You didn't fall for their charm, or their words, or their attention. You fell for the familiarity of the wound. Your unconscious mind whispered, I know this, because the nervous system is not designed to chase happiness. It is designed to chase resolution. If you grew up around emotional abandonment, you will be drawn to people who are emotionally unavailable, not because you want pain, but because a part of you is still trying to fix what once broke you. This is why empaths fall for narcissists, avoidance, and emotionally unpredictable partners. It feels like destiny. It feels like intensity. But what you're actually feeling is recognition. You are not attracted to the person. You are attracted to the emotional puzzle they represent. Your inner child sees them and thinks, maybe this time, if I love hard enough, if I give enough, if I am enough, I will finally be chosen. And so you chase healing through another human being? The activation of the wound, the moment they pull away, the moment they become cold, the moment they withdraw affection, your wound begins screaming. Not the adult you, not the logical you, but the child who once felt invisible. That child rises inside you and says, please don't leave. I can fix this. I know this feeling. I survived this before. This is why the bond feels spiritual. This is why leaving feels impossible. This is why logic doesn't work. You are not fighting for the relationship. You are fighting for the child inside you who never got closure. You weren't weak, you were wounded. This is the part nobody tells you. You didn't fall because you were weak. You fell because you were carrying a wound that never healed. A wound that seeks a story it can finally close. Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because once you see your wound, you also see the truth. You were never unlovable. You were never too much. You were never the problem. You were simply trying to finish a story that wasn't yours to finish. And the moment you realize this, the attraction begins to flip. The spell breaks. The pattern dissolves. And the person who once felt like destiny begins to look like what they truly were. A mirror, reflecting the wound you were always meant to heal. Betrayal hits the empath differently. Most people feel anger first. Most people feel the shock, the outrage, the instinct to protect themselves. But the empath turns inward. Before they ask, "Why did you do this to me?" they ask, "What did I do wrong?" And this is where the tragedy begins. The self-blame reflex. When an empath is betrayed, their first response isn't fury. It's self-doubt. You tell yourself, "Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I should have been more patient. Maybe I triggered them. Maybe I'm expecting too much." But this is not kindness. This is not emotional maturity. This is not spiritual compassion. This is a survival instinct conditioned in childhood. Because long ago, you learned that blaming yourself feels safer than accepting that the people you love can hurt you. A child cannot afford to see their caregivers as harmful, so they conclude that they must be the problem. This childhood belief quietly follows you into adulthood, and now, in moments of betrayal, it rises again. Why empaths don't see betrayal clearly. To the empath, betrayal is not just the loss of a person. It is the loss of a dream, the collapse of a fantasy, the breaking of a story they desperately wanted to believe. You didn't attach to their reality. You attached to their potential. You saw the person they could have been. You saw the warmth they showed in the beginning. You saw their trauma, their pain, their inner child. You fell in love with the soul behind their behavior. And so when betrayal comes, when they lie, cheat, manipulate, or withdraw, your mind refuses to accept it. Because accepting the betrayal means accepting that the person you loved never truly existed. And that is too painful to see all at once. So instead of holding them accountable, you hold yourself accountable. Betrayal is not the breaking of love, it is the breaking of the illusion. Let me say this with complete clarity. You did not lose them. You discovered them. The moment of betrayal is not the moment they changed. It is the moment they revealed themselves. Everything after that is simply you awakening from the trance you were in. Jung teaches that the psyche protects us by creating illusions, stories that make unbearable truths feel survivable. You believed that if you gave more, loved harder, understood deeper, they would show you the same in return. But betrayal rips off the mask. And once you see a person's true nature, you can never go back to the story you created. Why it hurts so much. Betrayal doesn't stab you where you are. It stabs you where you once were. It touches the oldest wounds. The fear of being abandoned, the terror of being replaced, the belief that you are not enough. This is why the pain feels like it's coming from inside your bones. Because betrayal doesn't awaken the adult heartbreak. It awakens the child who once begged for love that never stayed. This is why you find yourself saying things like, "Tell me what I did wrong. Please don't leave. I can change. I can fix this." You're not speaking from your present. You're speaking from your past. But here is the hidden gift of betrayal. It forces you to confront the one truth you've avoided your entire life. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And you cannot heal your childhood by reenacting it with another broken person. When the illusion collapses, your real transformation begins. Because betrayal creates a crossroads inside you. One path leads back into the same patterns, where you keep shrinking, keep overgiving, keep betraying yourself so others won't betray you. The other path, the path of awakening, leads you toward your own power. The moment you see the betrayal for what it truly is, not a punishment, not karma, not a failure, but a revelation, you begin to reclaim yourself. This is the turning point. The empath often believes that the breakup is the end of the story. But for you, the breakup was the beginning. Because betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It breaks the version of you that tolerated so much less than you deserved. And from this moment forward, a new self begins to emerge. One that no longer builds homes inside people who are emotionally homeless. This is the phase Jung calls individuation, the rebirth of the authentic self. And it all begins the moment the illusion shatters. The moment you stop shrinking. Asterisk, asterisk. Healing is not a gentle process of forgiveness alone. It is not a quick absolution of past pain or a simple letting go. True healing begins deeper in the shadow. The shadow is the part of your psyche you often avoid. It is the hidden place where your buried truths live. the feelings and perceptions you denied, dismissed, or silenced to survive. For the empath, this shadow holds what was once unbearable to face, the reality that you deserved better than what you accepted, the sharp awareness that you saw the warning signs but ignored them, the painful truth that you sacrificed pieces of yourself, hoping love would fill the emptiness you feared to name, and that your intuition, your inner guide, was muted or mistrusted. Shadow integration is the courageous act of reclaiming these truths. It is the moment when you stop shrinking your heart to fit someone else's limits. You stop betraying your own perception just to preserve the illusion of love. You no longer trade your truth for the comfort of denial. This is not about bitterness or anger. It is about honesty, the clear, unflinching honesty with yourself. When you integrate your shadow, you do not gloss over the pain or pretend it didn't happen. You face it fully. You say, yes, I was hurt. Yes, I was overlooked. Yes, I sacrificed too much. And in this acknowledgement lies your power, because integration means making peace with your past, not by forgetting it, but by understanding it, by giving voice to the parts of yourself that were once silenced, by embracing your whole self, not just the parts you want others to see. A healed empath is not a soft, fragile being to be walked over or manipulated. They are precise. They are discerning. Their intuition, once dulled by betrayal and doubt, becomes sharp as a finely honed blade. Their boundaries are no longer fragile fences that tremble under pressure. They are calm, firm, and unshakable walls, not built out of anger, but out of self-respect and clarity. This is the paradox of shadow work. You do not become harder, you become whole. You no longer need to armor yourself with cruelty or distance. Instead, you stand in your truth with quiet strength. When you integrate your shadow, manipulation loses its grip. Others cannot distort your reality or twist your perception. You see through their masks because your own light shines steadily within. You no longer give people the benefit of the doubt when your gut screams otherwise. You give yourself the benefit of truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts. This is the ultimate act of self-love. Not forgiving at the expense of your sanity, but refusing to betray your own wisdom. The moment you integrate your shadow is the moment you stop shrinking. No longer do you fold yourself into someone else's shape to feel accepted. No longer do you silence your voice to avoid conflict. No longer do you dim your light so others can shine brighter. You rise. You expand. You reclaim the space that is yours. In your heart, your mind, and your soul. This is not an easy path. It is the path of courage. It demands you look into the darkest parts of yourself and refuse to turn away. But it is also the path to freedom, because only when you embrace your shadow can you truly love. Not in need, not in fear, but in wholeness. You become an empath reborn, not as a victim of your past wounds, but as a guardian of your inner truth. Your sensitivity transforms from a vulnerability into a strength. Your compassion deepens, but it is no longer blind. Your boundaries do not close you off. They protect the sacred temple of your soul. Shadow integration is the moment when the empath stops shrinking and steps fully into their power, not through hardness or coldness, but through the fierce, unshakable love of their whole self. There comes a moment on every empath's healing journey that feels almost supernatural. A moment so quiet, yet so powerful, you barely notice it at first. It is the moment when the attraction flips. For most empaths, this shift doesn't arrive with fireworks or some grand revelation. It arrives gently, like waking up one morning and realizing the storm you've lived in for years has suddenly lost all its thunder. This is the moment everything changes. The quiet death of the wound. When the core wound heals, something ancient inside you dissolves. The part of you that once chased after coldness, interpreted inconsistency as chemistry, or mistook emotional chaos for passion. That part finally breaks open and releases its grip. You no longer crave the highs and lows. You no longer feel addicted to the unpredictability. You no longer mistake anxiety for connection. The nervous system that once clung to familiar pain begins to crave peace instead. And peace, for the first time, feels exciting. The attraction you once felt toward emotionally unavailable people evaporates as if it was never real, because it never truly was. It was the wound choosing for you. Now the wound is gone, so the attraction is gone too. The empath's former addiction. Before healing, you were drawn to intensity. You confused emotional starvation with devotion. You believed that if someone was hard to love, that meant their love was more valuable. But what was actually happening was simpler. Your nervous system was trying to finish an old story. You were not bonding with the person. You were bonding with the pattern. And once that pattern breaks, the spell breaks with it. You stop craving the chaos. You stop missing the coldness. You stop chasing emotional crumbs. You look at what once shattered you, and for the first time, you feel nothing. Not hate, not desire, not the need to fix or prove anything. Just clarity. Clarity so sharp, it feels like your vision has been restored. When the attraction dies, your power returns. This is the moment Jung describes as individuation, the rebirth of the authentic self. You no longer bend your boundaries to feel chosen. You no longer shrink to fit inside someone's emotional limitations. You no longer interpret neglect as something you must work harder to earn. Instead, your energy becomes still. Your perception becomes precise. Your body becomes your compass. You begin to notice instantly when someone is emotionally inconsistent. You sense red flags before they surface. You feel the difference between love and trauma bonding without needing to think. This is not cynicism. It is emotional maturity. A healed empath is not someone who becomes harder. A healed empath becomes accurate. The people who once drained you lose access. Healing creates an energetic shift so profound that people who once fed on your softness cannot reach you anymore. Their charm no longer works. Their chaos no longer feels magnetic. Their unpredictability no longer hooks your nervous system. It feels almost strange at first, how the people you once cried over now feel like faded characters in a story that no longer belongs to you. You don't fear losing them because you finally see they were never aligned with your soul to begin with. The paradox of healing. Here lies the irony. When you stop wanting what hurts you, you finally create space for what sustains you. Emotionally available people begin to enter naturally. People capable of depth. People who match your effort. People who speak truth. People who know intimacy without fear. For the first time, connection feels calm, and that calm feels like home. This is the paradox of healing. When you reclaim your perception, you stop desiring what once destroyed you, and you naturally attract what nourishes you. Not because you learned new dating rules, not because you forced yourself to choose better, but because you became better. And this is where your life truly begins. When the attraction flips, you stop repeating the old cycle. You stop romanticizing pain. You stop confusing survival patterns with love. You finally step into a life where you are not saving anyone and not begging anyone to save you. You step into a life where love feels safe, and for the first time, your heart is no longer a battlefield, but a home